I'm having one of those days where I am doing like a bulk recording, but like I say bulk, but I'm probably only going to make 2 videos. Anyways, hi guys, welcome back to my bunker, and if you're new here, hi, my name is Bella. Nice to meet you. Today I'm going to be going through the 10 books I've read in 2026 so far, and I must say context before I carry on. Context. This is like a, you know how people do like drunk makeup, drunk reviews, drunk this. I'm having one of those right now because it is sunny in London. It's never sunny in London. In London it's always raining and it's gray skies and it's but right now the sun is out. I'm in my balcony, so I'm having a bottle of prosecco to myself. Yes. I'm on to my 3rd glass, because I already made 1 video, so this is like carrying it on. Un momento, por favore. I don't have it arranged in a specific type of way, so you're going to get the reviews as they come. I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books on me. The other 2 books, one I read on a Kindle and the other was an audiobook, but I've read 10 books between January to February. Well, no, to March. But yeah, I've read 10 books in 2026. One I listened to via audiobook and the other I read on my Kindle. So first, we're starting with Vicious, which was actually my first read of the year. A little bit of backstory. I actually read Vengeful before I read Vicious. And if you've read both books, you know Vengeful comes after Vicious. I actually didn't know in which way the books went. I didn't actually know it was a duology because I saw Vengeful so many times I thought it was a standalone. So I was like, okay, I'm going to I saw it in my library, so I picked up the book and I read it, and in my head I'm thinking I was enjoying it. Like I didn't even know it was a duology even like then. I just felt like, okay, maybe they're going to do, so you know, with Hunger Games for instance, they mentioned a character, but like now they're giving us the backstory of specific characters like President Snow and Haymitch in Sunrise on the Reaping. That's what I thought was happening with Vengeful when I was reading it, and then I found out that actually no, I was meant to read Vicious first. Anyway, sorry, backstory. I just had to give context. 1 second. Vicious. I was reading that book, and I think obviously after reading Vengeful, I understood that this was like a villains type series, right? There wasn't like somebody that you're meant to root for, because really when I was reading Vicious, I didn't root for anyone. I had a soft spot for Sydney, but all in all I wasn't rooting for anyone. So I'm just going to open my Fable just so I'm giving you guys accurate ratings that I gave each of the books. Sing a different song. Okay, yeah, so Vicious. Actually no, I'm missing 1 more book, so I've read 11 books. Have I read 11 books? Which one is not? Which of you is the imposter? I finished that in November. Sorry, there's an imposter amongst us. I'm just going to take 1 book out. The book I actually left out, it was easily one of my top reads, and I think it's going to be one of my top reads this year by the end of the year anyway. Yes, okay, so I've read 10 books this year. So with Vicious, obviously we're following both Victor and Eli, and we're following their journey from meeting in college and all the way to adulthood. I think it goes all the way to adulthood. Yes, it does go all the way to adulthood. Me personally, and this video is going to have spoilers, I'm sorry, I have not reached that level to be able to like tell you about a book without giving spoilers. I'm going to try. So I'm going to say minimal spoilers, but I felt like with this specific friendship, what I learned from this book, I'm actually going to try not to give spoilers. We can do this. If you notice somebody has an off, like their character, maybe there's a screw loose, or there's a fuse that's been snipped, I am a firm believer of like consulting the authorities or like leaving them alone. Leave them alone. Because Victor was so hell-bent on like, oh, you know, there's something off about Eli, like his personality seems like he's just trying too hard to be perfect. You're right, but like now from the experiment that you guys have done, you've unleashed a monster onto the earth. So now where do we go from there? Because it is your fault. And obviously when we go on to Vengeful, we see like, you know, Victor is imperfect, and we see that in Vicious itself. But it's like we could have kept the lid on that monster, Eli specific. We could have kept the lid on Eli, dead ass. But you were Victor was so hell bent on like, guys, I promise there's something off about this guy, and then released him. We could have avoided this, but no, it was a great book. And I felt like if I read that first before I read Vengeful, I would have given it a 4-star. But yeah, I think obviously because it's very like villain focused, I would struggle to give it a 5-star all in all. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed both books. Like Schwab, you have a place in my heart. I enjoyed both books. But yeah, I feel like every character was written so well, because like the fact that I don't have a favorite character, but I was still able to enjoy the book, and I was still able to also open my mind to go, okay, wait, I understand where this character is coming from, where that character is coming from, or like I can see why, you know, this is being done, or like I don't root for this person and blah blah blah. So I think all in all the book was it was amazing for a villain series. I think a third book is coming out, so I'm looking forward to it, because I know when I read Vengeful, I made a video on my TikTok just saying like, oh, wouldn't it be crazy if Eli comes back to life, because I feel like his death was too easy. And I know it's been going on for like 2 books, but I feel like Eli's death was genuinely too easy, and I feel like he's going to come back to life, most especially because Victor has come back to life. So the third book, mark my words now, when the third book in the villains, I want to say series, because it's not the Wallace anymore, comes out, Eli's gonna come back. And I want him to come back because I really loved his dynamic with Victor, and I really loved the confusion I felt in terms of like, who am I rooting for here? And the thing is, I can really not meant to root for anyone, because both of them are actually not great people, but it's a good book series all in all. So yeah, I rated Vicious a 3.5 stars. Moving on, Clytemnestra. I would have gone to war for her. I would have been on the front lines if she was in Agamemnon's shoes. I would have, you know, everyone that has watched Game of Thrones, I would have been her hand. Like, I feel deeply, like I have deep like emotions and thoughts on Clytemnestra, because again, I believe she was an eldest daughter, fell in love. I feel like love wasn't even something on her like peripheral, it wasn't something she considered, but she fell in love. She had a good plan, and like she just went through so much suffering, and there was just so much suffering in the book itself that like there were parts where I was reading the book and I was doing immersive reading, so there are times where I read the book on its own, but I was doing like, oh, I'm listening to the audiobook and I'm reading the book, and I was just like, and there was times where I was just like, oh my days, my girl is going through so much, and her sisters are going through so much, and the women are going through so much. And I was like, oh my days, guys, get me in there, coach. I need to go and fight. Like, I actually need to go and like stand behind them, stand beside them, just stand for them, and just be there. Like, this book, how many stars did I give it? 4.5. Yes, I'm going to tell you why I didn't give it a 5-star in a second. But this book was everything. It was everything. It made me angry, it made me sad, it made me like, I had a moment of like reprieve. But all in all, this book destroyed me in the best way possible. Like, if you haven't read Clytemnestra, go and read it immediately. Immediately, like, come on, like, this book means so. I'm a whore for Greek mythology. I've probably watched every Greek mythology movie that has been out there. That's how much of a whore I am for Greek mythology. And obviously now I love reading, so I'm trying to read as many like Greek mythology books as I can. But this book means so much to me. Now, why did I give it a 5-star? I didn't give it a 5-star because the pain was too much. The pain was too much. This book had me heaving at some point, and I was just like, I love a sad book. I really do love a sad book. If anything, if anyone tells me, oh, by the way, this book is sad, be careful, I'll be like, huh, I'm going to buy it right now. this book made me heave. Like, as a woman, it brought me so much pain. I was like, can't do this. I genuinely can't do this. Like, I can't. So I had to take that 0.5 stars because of the pain. Not because the book was bad, because of the pain. But all in all, this book is my Roman Empire. Like, I'm telling you without even going into detail. Again, I'm trying to like save spoilers where I can. But yeah, Hunger Games. Now, I've read 3 of the Hunger Games books. I'm currently reading, again, the one with President Snow. I watched the movies before reading the books, but everybody was like, oh, I know you've watched the movies, but still read the book because the books are way better. I thought they were just trying to get me to read the books, but like, when I read the books, I was like, oh wow, you guys weren't joking. I didn't watch the movies when they came out originally. I watched them like years later. I think I actually watched the the Hunger Games movies in like 2022. So again, not that long ago. But when I read the books, it definitely held so many things back in the movies that are in the books. I give this book a 4-star. Valid, right? I think the MMC Peter is now one of my clients in terms of male characters in a book. I've read how many books? Let me say, in my lifetime, about 50 plus books. Peter Millark is still one of the best main male characters in a book that has ever been written. And again, I've only read 50 books, but like, still, I think it's such a beautiful thing to see a man that has seen a woman that has gone through so much, understands like her personality in terms of why she could be as destructive as she is, and still stand by her side and stand up for her and risk his life for her. You know, the plot of the book, the character building in the book, the tears. Again, I've watched the movie, but the fact that the book still made me cry is a testament to how good it is. So yeah, The Hunger Games, first book in the series, I gave a 4-star out of 5. I think before I carry on with any of the Hunger Games book, I'm going to go on to Jasad Heir. Give me a second. I read the Jasad Heir on my Kindle, and I didn't know what I was expecting with this book. Obviously, they told me the reason why I picked it up was because they said like it's very, you know, this is proper enemies to lovers. So I was like, I love a good enemies to lovers. I do. Because what do you mean we hate each other and then we fall in love? Yes, please. I'll have 14 of them. Thank you. I read this book, and it was easily one of the best, if not the best, enemies to lovers I've ever read in my life. This was like enemies to lovers attempted murder. They tried to kill each other. They did. They tried to kill each other, not once, not twice, not 3 times, multiple times. Yeah. So it's like, how did we get here in the end? You know, so all in all, again, I feel like with this one, I could easily give spoilers, so I'm not going to. But this was a 5-star read for me. It was. And I feel like if you're into enemies to lovers, if you're into that kind of shit, this book is for you. And it is actually based in Egyptian mythology, and I love this so much. Obviously, seeing that a woman of color wrote it as well, it was everything to me. I just loved obviously seeing an FMC that has like curly hair and has like brown skin. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful read for me. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed reading about the culture in it. I really enjoyed the world building. I don't feel like the book was slow at any point, and there were so many parts of the book in itself the book was so layered that even if you don't relate to the character directly, a nerve is going to be hit. The book was amazing. If you haven't read the Jasad Heir, you should. I'm saving the Jasad Crown, which is the second book in the series, for like summertime, and like as you can tell, summer is close, so I'm gonna be buying it real soon. So yeah, that was actually my first 5-star read of the year. Going on to the next book, which is Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Now this book, I enjoyed it, but I'm sorry, I give it a 3-star. I know, like a 3-star is not bad. A 3-star for me is a good book. Like, it's a good read, not the best, but it's good. Like, I enjoyed it, right? Sorry, this one is crazy. With this book in particular, I felt like it was kind of initially a reprieve, even if it was just for 2 seconds, a reprieve from the Hunger Games book. But then, you know, it was nice being introduced to new characters, and it was nice when I read about the story, like, sorry, the games, obviously with the past tributes. But I think it's because I had watched the movie, and I'll say this was one book where, like, the movie was sort of close to the book, so there wasn't anything that made me go, oh, like, ah, da, 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 da. So I felt like I was watching the movie when I was reading the book, so it wasn't like anything spectacular as someone who had watched the movie, sorry. So it wasn't anything spectacular as someone who had watched the movie, but like without going into detail. But I really enjoyed it regardless. And like I said, I think seeing Peter and Katniss's dynamic is something very special and sacred to me as somebody who like is a misandrist. I am, and I'm sorry if you hate that, you can unsubscribe, but as someone who is a misandrist and someone who like is frustrated with life as a whole and the state of the world we're living in, I related to Katniss so much, even though she frustrated me, but like I also frustrate me. But seeing that someone can see the frustration in like in just how you feel about yourself and life and still stick beside you is something special. So this series in itself has already embedded itself in my brain just because of how good and beautifully the characters and the dynamics were written. So yeah, 3-star for Catching Fire. Now, Mockingjay. This book, I need a sec, sorry. Mockingjay? I read this book, I sobbed. Again, I've watched the 4 Hunger Games movies are out. I read this book, I sobbed. Like, and I don't mean like tears streaming down my face. I was heaving. I heaved. Again, mini spoiler. Skip this part if you need to. 1, 2, 3. Okay. The part where they went to, I think it was District 8, and they went into the hospital. Katniss went into the hospital and spoke to all the people that were injured in District 8. And obviously they saw her and they felt hope, and like as she left, they bombed the hospital. I was like, this is literally, and these books were written before, well, I want to say they were written before the situation we're living in, but obviously I feel like a lot of these issues were already existing in the world before these books came out, because they were, but they weren't as televised as they are right now, right? So that's why my heart will always go off to Suzanne Collins, because you know she did her research. You would know she was switched on with issues that were going on in the world more than any, like I'll say more than most authors, let's say that. Because I was reading that part and I was like, this is literally what's happening. You can see she definitely drew inspiration from what was happening in the world, because she was so informed, and which is why it is so important as individuals to be informed about the issues that are going on in the world. Because when I read that specific chapter, I had to close the book because I felt so hollow. For like 2 days straight I couldn't continue. I felt so hollow. I think obviously as you grow older, you're more aware and you're more conscious. I feel like, you know, when people say, oh, I was brought up in a specific, you know, household or a specific religion or dynamic, fair, but it's like fair till a specific extent. Like when you get to a specific age, you should be able to step out of what you're taught to learn about what's actually going on in the world and actually make your own choices as to where you stand. And obviously as I grow older, I'm like, okay, no, I don't support this, I support this, this is what I stand with. And just reading that book, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to even cry now. There are people in other countries that are suffering this book that was like, oh, it's a fictional book. It's happening. So yeah, that was a 5-star for me. I'm trying, like, I'm not going to go deeper into it because that book means so much to me, so I'm going to try to just leave it at that. But yeah, that was a 5-star. I think Mockingjay for me, I don't know if I've heard that Sunrise on the Reaping is meant to be better, but I don't think Sunrise on the Reaping is going to top Mockingjay for me personally. I'll let you guys know when I read it. Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. As a Nigerian girly, you know, I had to read this. I gave this book a 3.75 stars. Why? I would have given it 4-star, but I felt like the ending fell flat. I really enjoyed the book as a Nigerian girl myself. I feel like it wasn't predictable. I was reading the book, I'm like, okay, this is giving, without spoiling, it's giving this, and I'm like, okay, let's stick to that. And then immediately it switches to something else, and you're like, oh, I didn't know it was giving that. And you're like reading, and you're like, oh shit, something else is happening. So the book definitely keeps you engaged. I'd say it's one of the books that kept me the most engaged this year so far. I know I just in March, but it's one of the few books that kept me engaged so far this year. But I felt like the ending fell flat. It's a duology, so I felt like it could have ended at a specific point to get me excited to want to immediately go and buy the next book, but it didn't do that. I felt like obviously they wanted to give us a bit more context and blah blah blah, but I just felt like it could have been ended at a specific point in the book, just like a cliffhanger to immediately give us like basically how Catching Fire ended. I felt like Catching Fire ended on a cliffhanger. I felt like Raybearer should have ended on a similar cliffhanger. The first book in the Raybearer series has already built up the second book in a sense, but it's not made me anticipate what's going to happen. It's just like, okay, I know this is going to happen, but I'm not like itching for it. But all in all, it was a good book because it was unpredictable. The dynamic in the characters were amazing, just seeing different cultures and different like storylines, but also different like outcomes, not knowing where the book was actually headed was fun for me to read. Cursed Daughters by Oyinkan Braithwaite. Oyinkan! There's an Oyinkan Braithwaite book out there. I'm buying it. I am, because I went to a book bar in Chelsea. So this is in London, but it's called Book Bar Chelsea. I saw this book. There was another book that was called Book of the Year or Book of the Week, I didn't care. I saw this book, I said I'm buying it. That's my girl. I read the excerpt. I'm going to read it to you guys just so that in case, you know, my review doesn't convince you to read it, maybe anyway. So okay, no man will call your house his home, and if they try, they will not have peace. So goes the family curse, handed down from generation to generation, ruining families and breaking hearts as it goes. And now it's calm. Rational Annie's turn, who, due to her uncanny resemblance to her dead aunt, Monife, and her family's insistence that she must be a reincarnation, has long been used to some strange familiar beliefs. Still, when she falls in love with the handsome boy she saved from drowning, she can no longer run from her family's history. Is she destined to leave out the habitual story of love and heartbreak, or can she escape the family curse and the mysterious fate that befell her aunt? So I'm reading it. I have 14 of them right now. I would have given this book a 5-star easily, but there was a specific trope I can't stand, and you can't escape it if it's in a book. I'm just sorry. I'm so sorry. And the thing is that it was actually very relevant in this book. Like, it makes sense, and I will understand why anyone would rate this a 5-star. Like, it is a 5-star read, but I'm a picky eater, but I'm also a picky reader. That specific trope throws me off, and it happened like twice, and I just can't stand for it. I love this book all in all. I love Oyinkan. Oyinkan is an amazing author. I've read My Sister the Serial Killer. I'm not going to go into it right now. I have a video where I've already gone into it, so you can go on my channel and watch that video. But Oyinkan, you can write a book. I know there's a third book of hers that I haven't read. I'm going to read, but I know that some people have mixed reviews. Like, it's based in like COVID times. I don't like reading books based in COVID times, so in my head I don't think I'm going to read it. Maybe I will, but I don't think I will. One thing I'll tell you now about Oyinkan is I love how her books are very focused on girlhood. She focuses on the dynamics in, like, as a Nigerian, I'm going to say Nigerian families, like Nigerian female relationships, because in a Nigerian household they're always going to be like, oh, you need to marry, you need to have kids, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's like, mommy, I'm not going to do that. So as a Nigerian woman reading that, I felt so seen in, and the different, mind you, they are different women within this book. obviously there are obviously two main characters that you're following, but like she still follows the stories of different women in the book itself that makes you go, oh. Because yeah, there's some women that are very much like, oh, you know, I don't care for marriage, I don't want to marry, but there are actually women out there that are actually like, oh, I want to marry, I want to have kids, I want to have a husband, I want to have that. And I just love the way that she explores those different dynamics, but also explores living with cousins, sisters, aunties that have those beliefs, right? Again, as someone who has also lived in households with all those different dynamics of like, you know, aunts that don't care for marriage, but you know, maybe they might, or maybe, you know, they might want to have kids but they don't want to get married, and like a mom that's like, oh my gosh, you have to get married and you have to have kids, like that. I just love the way she explores that, and I love the way her books are very like women focused. Like I can't tell you like, oh yeah, this MMC stood out, not in an incorporated book. No, even if they have good character, you will even be moved by it because she's so focused on the women. And for me, that is like a stellar author. We're going to start with the fine print because it is the first book in the series. Full star. I really wanted to like this book because I'm a Disney girly, and this is called The Dreamland Billionaires, and the Dreamland is basically like Disneyland. So we have Declan, Rowan, and I think Cal is the third brother. He's actually my favorite brother, like Declan, Cal, Rowan, but the first book is on Rowan, right? I really wanted to like this book, I really did, but I'm also a firm believer of, as individuals, as we grow up, despite how we've been raised, we should make conscious decisions to be better people. I do understand and sympathize with issues that you go through, but at the same time, I feel like you need to make the conscious effort to be better people despite how you were raised. And that's why this was a 2-star instead of a 3-star, because I felt like Sara, who's the FMC in this book, was always trying to fix him. And I just felt like, I'm sorry, you're a grown man. He was 30 something. You're a grown man. Go to therapy. Go to therapy. I'm so sorry. At 20 years old, I was like, okay, there are certain things that need to be corrected in terms of like the way I think, and I need to go to therapy, and I went to therapy. Why are you 30 plus still thinking, oh, the world is this and that and that and that? Yes, we all go through different things, but I just feel like there's a specific, like, as when you just enter adulthood, and I just feel like it's the way the world has been framed, where it just, women just feel like they initially just need to fix things or like do better, and like men don't. So for me, I just felt like Rowan could have done so much better ahead of his relationship with Sara, and I felt like he, obviously, I know the whole storyline was like he thought Sara was like fake or whatnot, but I just feel like Rowan wasn't a good, like, he could have been a better person before Sara, and he was dependent on her, and he was just focused on her being a better person or being a good person rather than like him being a good person. And I love the fact that obviously towards the end of the book, she was very much like, no, you're not a good person, and you really need to go and figure out what's doing you before you come and face me. But at the same time, I just feel like it's so sad that the standard is like men need women to help them figure out that they have issues. Go and sort that out yourself. So that's why I gave it a 2-star. I'm not going to go into like further detail. Terms and Conditions, which is the second book. I read this book because everybody was like, ignore the first book, read the second and third book. I was a Cal stan from the get-go. So this book is about Declan, the eldest brother. Cal is it. I've not read the third book, but I was like, I don't know. But I've always been a sucker for older brothers. Like, I love a man that knows in his mind women are already having it hard, so I really need to like make sure like they're all sorted and they're all happy, and I'm here for them to support them where I can before I even put myself first. I need to make sure like my family is okay before I put myself first. So that's why I love an older brother, because I feel like older brothers can somewhat understand eldest daughters. As an eldest daughter myself, that's my spec. That's my spec. Sorry, not sorry. I rated this book a 3.5 stars out of 5. Again, I still feel like with this character, similar to Rowan, he was very dependent on the FMC, who was his assistant, by the way. This book is actually a marriage of convenience. I really love this book. I really did. There were lots of parts that he pissed me off, and I was just like, I was taking stars every time he pissed me off. But at the same time, I'm like, I can sympathize more with the eldest son than I can with the youngest. I can. I'm sorry. Like, you have to sacrifice and take beatings from your dad. I can sympathize with you. You have to protect your, but I can't sympathize with you. I can. So that's why, like, this book definitely got higher ratings than The Fine Print, for instance. And I feel like Declan, very early on compared to Rowan, was more open to his feelings towards Iris, who is the FMC, by the way. And also, Iris was a sister. Yes, like power. Before I read this book, I just randomly thought, okay, I'm gonna listen to the playlist. I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to the playlist and see if it's giving. It gave. I was listening to the playlist, I'm like, I was listening to Kiana Lede, Kalani, Miley Cyrus, like, who was it on there? I was like, Then I was like, wait, the FMC, the sister, I'm in there. So yeah, that's why I read it. Yes, the FMC was a black lead. I had to see what was going on in there, but all in all, it was a good book. I felt like it could be better. Clearly, I gave it a 3.5 instead of a 4 or a 5 star. But that again still goes back to my initial point of, I just feel like men need to sort out their issues before getting in relationships. Yes, you can fix it. You can fix it in relationships, but it's like, I'm so tired of women fixing men. Fix yourself. Like, we have to sort out ourselves. So fix yourselves. So yeah, those are the 10 books I read in 2026 so far. Oh my god. The hardback dug into my collarbone. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're a bookish girly that also enjoys Formula 1 content, I wanted to show you guys my face because I'm in glasses, but I can't open my eyes because it's that sunny. Mind you, it's March. I think it's meant to be spring, but it feels like summer because I'm in a t-shirt. I was wearing a hoodie, but like, it's actually crazy. I'm going to put this back on. But yeah, if you're a bookish girly that also likes Formula 1 content, please subscribe. And I will see you on the next one, hopefully. Love you.
Can you feel that? We're done here. Move out of the way, I'm going to run you over. Bye, kid.